don't know if I emphasized, 3 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization to build a health clinic in Sudan. And I did that, and some of us wonder sometimes, like, yeah, I'm one person, what can you do? You do the best you can. And one of the reasons is health education. Here's the population that is like almost 90% live less than $1 a day. We just got independent 2 months ago. So everything is from the beginning. And so I'm bringing health, but really if I cannot teach them sanitation, simple hygiene, I'm going backward. And this is why my heart is in the health education. I have to do something in my own language. Thank God I know how to read and write and also talk in my own language, and I know the English part, and now I'm learning some Arabic. So you can make a difference, and like Dr. Burns said, I am not saying go to Africa, go to different countries. I start here, I do Hawthorne. I went there and did the whole seminar there, and it's not the fact that I'm not saying they're illiterate, but I'm telling them that, you know, change the way that you are sitting, and some of them are not coming to school. And speaking of traveling, there are people who would like to go for 5 miles walking, 10 miles to come to school. And here in America, we either immigrant people come here, they don't come to school. And here we have a perfect computer lab set up. We have a perfect teachers. And I'm telling them, look, some people out there are looking for these things, and they have none. So the point is, you can do it here. You don't have to go to Africa. If you can go to Africa, great. Don't worry. You can come with me. I'm trying to recruit sometime, but you can start here too.
Okay, because Dr. Sarah has to leave, do you mind if I ask you one more quick question?
Okay, no, sure.
Okay, yeah, Dr.
You're doing great.
Yeah, Dr. Sarah, in countries where the disparity between male and female literacy is profound, would you suggest that solving this disparity is more of an institutional question or a social question? Can you talk about any programs that you've seen to close the gap in certain countries?
Okay, I will. It's interesting because gender disparities, now that there is some sort of continental kind of drift here. In Latin America, for instance, more girls than boys go to school. You have really the gender disparity really closed off. In South Asia, I think is the part of, and Middle East countries where the gender gap is the highest. And Sub-Saharan Africa is somewhere in the middle, but the gender gap is high. And so one can wonder, you know, what is different across these countries? Why? And there are, I think, a lot of sometimes very practical issues. When schools are very far, usually girls are less likely to be able to go. There's a lot of issue with violence and security that parents feel more strong about when it comes to girls. So you can do a lot in terms of infrastructure, proper settings that will close part of the gap. And certainly the other part is much more sort of social and institutional. I would, you know, put this category a bit together in the sense that it's the perception of the time. I mean, already some people mentioned that, you know, if a school is not perceived to deliver what parents expect or relatives expect, children may not be sent to school. In some cases, these kind of qualms and anxieties are felt more for girls than for boys. There's this sense that actually girls going to school may lose out and they might not gain much. I mean, I already told you that sometimes at school you don't really learn much. And there's anxiety for girls to learn how to be in the household and prepare maybe themselves as good wives and so forth. I think, you know, there are a lot of countries where the gap is still there, but they're working throughout. There's a lot of civil society organizations that are working with schools. When I said the school is not just about teachers and students, but about the whole society, I think this is the kind of response. It's parents' involvement, community involvement. When these things work, when communication is high, no parents in no part of the world decide actively to keep a girl away from the school. It's more of the context, it's more of the kind of, there's no discrimination, even in what are perceived to be very conservative society, where women's role is considered to be the weakest, actually, including Arabic societies, where parents perceive that children would gain, no parents would discriminate. Maybe other people would like to add on this. And can I say that unfortunately I have to leave, but I really would like to thank you all for your incredible attention. We have been talking a lot. I learned a lot from my fellow panelists. I'm sorry that I have to miss the last part, but I'm at the 4th floor of Grinter, and my office is there. So if you want to contact me or just come up, just for anything, would be very welcome, you and your friends. Okay?
Thank you. Okay. Let's see where. Okay, Dr. Burns, you work with the Mayan community in Mexico and Central America. How does the community? Would you like to expound on this anymore? Or you feel like you've got over this enough? How's the community, local tribe there influence the education and literacy of people?
Well, I'll just say that just like individual people really have almost an instinctual urge to learn, kind of like we have an urge to eat and we have an urge to sleep. Human beings have an urge to learn. We're very curious animals, and learning is kind of something we can't even stop ourselves from doing. And what's interesting about Mayan communities themselves also have this urge. And the example I gave at the end of Aktenamid, that we have a chapter here on campus that's working with that community, they organize 126 different villages and over 100,000 people in this whole area. And it's run by the Mayan people themselves. They're in charge. They're making the curriculum. They're doing the things. So I think one of the optimistic things that's happening in indigenous parts of the world are that people themselves are pushing, they're driving, they're organizing, they're creating structures that now are becoming models in other parts of the world. People from that indigenous educational institution, Academy, have gone to Africa, to Kenya, a place like that. They've been to Bolivia, they've been into Asia, showing that this kind of large model of appropriate rural education really can work. It's really hard to do in areas where there is violence, whether it's political violence or drug violence or interpersonal violence, but it's also amazing how hard people will work to make it work. And then there are other communities that opening is just politically not there yet for all kinds of reasons. Initiatives of local communities are put down.